Some people aren't waiting for Jesus. They're waiting for permission to stop living. That's the part nobody tells you. You know what terrifies me? Not the end of the world. Not trumpets. Not blood moons. Not beasts from Revelation. What terrifies me is how easy it is to make human beings abandon their lives if you convince them the ending is close. Look at me for a second. Imagine someone tells you the world ends in 6 months. What happens first? You stop planning. You stop building. You stop repairing things. You stop believing tomorrow matters. That's the real power of apocalypse predictions. Not fear of destruction. Fear destroys slowly. And for 2,000 years, people have been destroying their own lives, waiting for an ending that never arrived. Tonight I want to show you something almost nobody talks about. Not the theology, not the charts, not the prophecies, the wreckage. Because behind every failed rapture prediction, there are actual human beings standing in the ruins of decisions they can't undo. And once you see it, you'll never hear another end times preacher the same way again. Let's begin with a woman named Margaret. Not her real name, but her story is real. 1988, a preacher stood in front of a congregation with a marker and a prophecy chart. He pointed at Israel becoming a nation in 1948 and said, "A biblical generation is 40 years. Do the math." People gasped, because certainty is intoxicating. Margaret believed him. Sweet woman, church pianist, sent birthday cards with $5 bills inside. The kind of person who apologized when someone else stepped on her foot. She sold her house, gave away her furniture, wrote letters to her children saying, "Don't cry for me, we'll meet in the air." And on New Year's Eve, 1988, she sat in a borrowed apartment wearing her best dress, waiting for heaven to split open. Midnight came. Confetti fell on television. Dick Clark smiled. And nothing happened. No trumpet, no angels, no sky tearing apart, just silence. And Margaret sitting there realizing she had dismantled her life for a date another human being invented. That's the part nobody puts on prophecy conference posters. The silence afterward, the embarrassment, the confusion, the quiet drive home. Because failed prophecies don't explode dramatically. Most of them end in awkwardness. Subscribe for a second. I'm serious, and here's why. Because I'm not going to sell you a date. I'm going to remind you that the most radical thing you can do in a world obsessed with endings is to be fully alive right now. Hit the button. I'll wait. Okay, let's keep going. History is full of Margaret. Year 1000. People convinced the world would end at the turn of the millennium. Some stopped farming. Some stopped rebuilding homes. Some emptied savings into churches hoping to secure eternity. Then morning came. Birds kept singing. Bread still needed baking. Children still cried. Life continued with almost insulting normality. Year 1844. The Millerites. Thousands gathered in white robes waiting for Jesus to return. They stood on hillsides singing hymns as the sun disappeared. And when morning arrived instead of Christ, many collapsed emotionally. Historians literally call it the Great Disappointment. That phrase haunts me. Not judgment, not wrath. Disappointment. Because disappointment only exists where hope once lived. Then Harold Camping. You remember him. Billboards everywhere. Judgment Day, May 21st. People drained retirement accounts, quit jobs, abandoned plans for the future. May 21st arrived. Nothing. So the prediction changed. October 21st. Nothing again. And here's what fascinates me. Even after repeated failure, some followers still believed. Do you understand how powerful certainty is? Human beings would often rather rewrite reality than admit they were deceived. Because certainty feels safer than uncertainty. That's the engine underneath almost every doomsday movement ever created. Not evil, not stupidity, desperation. We ache for the ending because endings remove ambiguity. If the world ends next month, you don't have to figure your life out. You don't have to heal. You don't have to forgive. You don't have to ask whether you wasted your 20s. You don't have to face the terrifying possibility that life is ordinary, and it's your responsibility to give it meaning. An apocalypse can become emotional anesthesia, and that realization almost broke me. Because I used to think I was immune to this stuff. Then 2012 happened. Not even the Mayan calendar madness, something smaller. A radio preacher claimed he had received a dream revealing the exact week of the rapture. I laughed when I heard it, mocked it, rolled my eyes. But when that week arrived, I checked the sky more than once. That disturbed me. I remember standing in a grocery store parking lot, watching clouds move and thinking, what if? Not because I believed, because fear bypasses logic. That's important. Fear bypasses logic. And suddenly I understood something horrifying. These predictions survive because they hijack something ancient inside the human brain, our need to know what happens next. Let me get genuinely frustrated for a second, because someone has to say this. Harold Camping took people's retirement, their houses, their kids' college funds, and then he just revised the date. Twice. And after the second failure, he admitted he had no idea. Then he died. That's not prophecy. That's theft. And yet, even after that, a small group of his followers still believe he was right. They just say the judgment was invisible, spiritual. You see what happened? The date failed, so they moved the goalposts. That's not faith. That's gymnastics. Every single date, every single one. Wrong. Not sort of wrong. Spectacularly, embarrassingly, sell your house and give away your cat wrong. But here's what I realized. The obsession with the end isn't really about the future. It's about dissatisfaction with the present. Think about it. If someone truly loves their life, their family, their work, their ordinary Tuesday morning coffee, they don't spend every waking hour fantasizing about escape. That was the revelation that hit me like a truck. And if you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. Some people are not waiting for Jesus. They are waiting for permission to stop living. That's the centerpiece nobody talks about. The apocalypse becomes emotionally seductive because it offers relief. Relief from bills. Relief from uncertainty. Relief from grief. Relief from responsibility. Relief from history. Relief from tomorrow. And once you see that, the entire end times industry starts looking different. Because fear sells. Always has. Fear fills churches. Fear gets clicks. Fear keeps audiences emotionally dependent. You know what doesn't sell nearly as well? Presents. Nobody becomes a millionaire telling people, call your mother, take a walk, love your children, repair your marriage, drink water, watch the sunset, be grateful you survived another day. That message is too quiet. Apocalypse is louder. That's why every generation believes it's the final generation. Every single one. The Black Death, World War I, World War II, the Cold War, nuclear panic, Y2K, 2012, blood moons, AI, climate collapse, different century, same heartbeat. We are the chosen generation who will see the ending. Because believing you are living at the climax of history makes your existence feel larger. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of us are probably not living at the climax. We are living in the middle. And human beings hate middles. Middles are where laundry exists. Middles are where marriages get hard. Middles are where depression lingers. Middles are where dreams take too long. The fantasy of apocalypse transforms the middle into a movie finale. But life is usually not a finale. Life is repetition. Tiny choices, tiny kindnesses, tiny failures, tiny recoveries. And maybe that's holier than we think. There's a verse people quote constantly during end times debates. Nation will rise against nation. As if war is new. Go read history. History is basically human beings repeatedly discovering creative ways to terrify each other. Wars have always existed. Earthquakes have always existed. Panic has always existed. The early Christians thought Jesus would return in their lifetime. Paul literally wrote, "We who are alive and remain." We, not they. We. He expected it soon. It didn't happen. And that doesn't make him evil. It makes him human. Hopeful humans are terrible at timelines. And maybe we should finally admit that. Because every failed prediction leaves bruises somewhere. A child raised terrified of being left behind. A family bankrupted by prophecy donations. A teenager who never planned a future because adulthood supposedly wasn't coming. A woman too afraid to fall in love because the world is ending anyway. That damage is real. And I think about that constantly, especially now, because social media has turned apocalyptic anxiety into entertainment. Algorithms reward panic. A calm voice saying, "Relax, nobody knows the date. We'll never outperform. The rapture will happen this September." Fear spreads faster than wisdom, always. But here's what changed my perspective forever. A monk from the 4th century, a desert father named Agathon, was once asked, "When will the end come?" Do you know what he said? Not a date, not a chart, not a coded prophecy. He said, "Leave that to God. Your task is to love the person in front of you." That sentence destroyed me, because it exposed how much time I had wasted staring at horizons while neglecting people standing right beside me. And maybe you've done that too. Maybe you've postponed joy waiting for certainty. Maybe you've delayed your life waiting for a sign. Maybe you've secretly treated existence like a waiting room instead of a home. I understand, but listen carefully now. This part matters. One day your life will end. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally. Mine too. And when that day comes, I do not think your greatest regret will be, "I should have watched more prophecy videos." I think the regret will sound more like this: "I should have been here more present, more loving, more honest, more awake, more willing to live before life disappeared." Because the tragedy is not that the world might end someday. The tragedy is how many people stop living before it does. So no, I'm not giving you a rapture date tonight. I'm giving you something much harder. Responsibility for the life directly in front of you. Your family, your body, your friendships, your unfinished conversations, your neglected dreams, your ordinary Tuesday afternoon. That is your real spiritual test. Not decoding symbols, living fully without certainty. And honestly, that might be the bravest thing a human being can do. To wake up every morning without guarantees and still choose love. Still choose hope. Still plant gardens you may never sit beneath. Still build futures you may not control. Still laugh. Still forgive. Still stay. That's courage, not panic. So if you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Every failed prophet had charts, but the wisest people in history usually had gardens. Think about that. The people obsessed with endings rarely know how to live. But the people who truly understand life, they cook meals, raise children, write poems, plant trees, call friends, hold hands in hospital rooms, feed strangers, watch sunsets without needing them to mean anything. That's the real miracle. Not escaping the world, loving it while it's still here. So here's what I want you to do before you close this video. First, tell me in the comments the date someone told you was the end. Drop it there. You're not alone. Let's make the comments a place where we stop pretending we haven't all been scared. Second, hit subscribe. Not because I'll give you dates, because I'll keep reminding you that you're allowed to live before you know how the story ends. And third, call your mother, or your friend, or that person you've been avoiding. Don't wait for a trumpet. No trumpet tonight. No countdown. No blood moon equation. No secret code hidden in headlines. Just you. Your heartbeat, this moment, and the terrifying, beautiful freedom of realizing that maybe the meaning of life was never hidden in the ending. Maybe it was hidden in the ordinary days we kept trying to escape.